Welcome, everyone, to the Tesla Beat podcast number 104. And of course, what a wild week in very Tesla fashion, constantly dropping us dimes. And more importantly, just, probably the biggest moment, I would say, probably since maybe even the Model 3 launch, not necessarily usurping that, but just a big moment in Tesla history. So we're going to unpack all of that to get some firsthand experience. Expertise along with just kind of like what this means for the company, and we'll dive into some other things. Quick shout out to Insta360 for always making this episode fun so that I can move around and watch the camera go up and down. Make sure you check out some of their products in the link below. And but yeah, let's get started. Let's just jump straight into it. Tesla Beat 104. Jeez, can't believe we're this amount. So stock is pretty much flat. It did shoot up 10% on Monday. The market definitely took, they were happy to see the stuff happening in the Robotaxi. But it has obviously softened a little bit given, a lot of the things also just kind of happening outside of just the Tesla sphere. All right, well, let's get into it. So Hans was one of the first, I think, 20 people in the world who got a actual invite. And then he had, I think there was, just there's about 20 people on Sunday who got early access. So we're going to kind of get a breakdown from him. And then it was pretty much a bunch of people flocking to Austin. There was a guy who even flew from Denmark just to get in a Robotaxi, myself, just pretty much begging for rides. And now they've had a second and third wave. But Hans, I'll spit it to you on one. What was the experience like of getting one of those invites? And then what did you see and notice in the car? And then I can add on based on my experience. And then we would love to hear from Joe and Brian on what you've seen so far.
Yeah, it was just a historic day. I think the big takeaway is how close we are to these Tesla AI driving agents being able to do useful work that humans have to do on a daily basis completely autonomously. Like right now we have the safety monitor who's there, but that is just a precautionary measure in the rollout. And if Andre Karpathy recently gave a talk at Y Combinator, and he talked about the process of developing fully autonomous AI systems that can do useful work. And it's a process where you move a slider from being something where the human is very, very involved to being less involved over time until you finally get to the other side. And you have this thing that is able to just go out and do work that needs to be done without ever having to check back in with the human. And he compared that to the suit from Iron Man, that obviously when Iron Man is in the suit, it's giving him superpowers and capabilities, and it's augmenting him. But then the suit also has the ability to let him out and then go off and fight crime on its own. And that is the world that we're trying to build with artificial intelligence systems, that they can go do stuff for us that we need to be done completely on their own. And so we're very close to the end of that slider being moved from every mile being driven on planet Earth by humans to now we have these AI driving agents that can do a significant portion of, and eventually the vast majority of all miles that get driven on Earth. So it's a very historic, momentous day. And the thing that's special about Tesla's approach to doing this is that they are building it in a way that scales much bigger, much farther, much faster than what any of the other companies who've been working on the same problem have been doing. And Sunday was the first installment of mass market vehicles. There's Waymo may have the first real service, but their service is a great prototype. It's a proof of concept of something that's possible. But those cars are not mass market cars. The Tesla Model Y that was being used by the Robotaxi service on Sunday and all throughout this week is the best-selling car on earth. It is a mass market vehicle that rolls off the end of the manufacturing line, ready to go out into the world and drive people around without a human having to do that driving. And so it's just incredible that we are here at this moment in time where we're making this transition now into fully autonomous transportation. And I was extremely honored to get to be a part of that. Like, just super lucky. Honestly, it doesn't really have anything to do with the content that I made. I just happened to be connected to the group of people who was getting invites and kind of invited um as a ride along for the people that were actually being invited because they had the connections and the know-how. So that said, it was great to experience the service. My takeaways are that this system it just works incredibly well. Like, the sense that you get inside the car is that this is, if any of you who have experienced driving FSD 13.2.9, you know that it's already really good. And riding in the Robotaxi service, it felt like that, except better and more refined in every single way possible, and really ready for prime time. And so the stopping and starting is smoother. It seems like it can see farther and make better decisions further in advance. It handles parking lots and pickups and drop-offs way better than version 13 of FSD does. It responds quickly to situations that are like changing rapidly and need to be addressed by the car. And it's extremely courteous as well. It's cautious when it drives, but it's not skittish. It doesn't freak out, and it just makes the decision that you think it probably should make every time. And it ends up just being extremely boring. Like, you get in the car and it just gets you from point A to point B with no drama. And yeah, like sometimes when you ride in an Uber, you can tell that the driver is stressed and they're trying to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. And, it's not necessarily comfortable. Like, man, you didn't have to cut that guy off. You didn't have to do this. You didn't have to do that. And you know that, yeah, you're probably going to get there okay, but it sure, makes you uncomfortable. And that is not what the experience is like in the Robotaxi at all. It's just the most chill transportation that you could possibly imagine. And for a number of the drives, I was actually sitting in the seat behind the driver's seat, just because it's easier to hold the camera in my right hand to try and film the drives. And from that seat, it's basically impossible to realize that this is not just an extremely professional taxi driver taking you from point A to point B. So yeah, that was my overall experience and impression with the service over the last week.
Sorry,
Well, I was just gonna say, like, man, it's terrible. So you're saying it's uneventful and it just does what it's supposed to do. These headlines are right, man. It's a fail. Yeah, it sucks.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, I would add to it that it works. It works because you've seen the videos. It works. The reason I know it works is because I've seen the FUD storm brewing, and every time Tesla's about to change something huge, the nonsense reaches a fevered pitch. They will say anything they can to try. Before the Model 3 launched, the predictions were doom and gloom. This feels like the movie reviewer who said before Avatar came out that it was going to be the biggest movie flop of all time. How did that work out? No one remembers that because, of course, it didn't happen. Also, no one remembers Avatar. I mean, what's your favorite character? I don't know. I don't remember. It's terrible. But The idea is that we're seeing I got a reply from Clown O'Dan saying, I have observed 16 safety critical failures. No, you haven't. That's a lie. You are lying. You are saying that because it went 4 miles over the speed limit, that's a safety critical failure. No, it isn't. Have you never been in a taxi? Have you never been in an Uber? That's how people drive. You want a car that drives the way people drive if it's driving in a people world. If we were making FSD or autonomy or robotaxi in a world where humans weren't allowed to drive, let's say it's some new planned community and only driverless vehicles are allowed for this whole city, this whole country, it would be very easy to solve it if only robots were on the road, but they're not. They're stuck here with us dumb meatbags, and we do terrible things on the road. We drive distracted, we drive tired or intoxicated or whatever it may be. They don't do that. So this is working. And the safety, the guy had to disengage because a truck was backing up. Guys, the car had already stopped. That was an abundance of caution. I don't mind an abundance of caution on the first day of a rollout of a new product. I think that's a good idea. It just works. And if there were real things to complain about, we'd have seen them. And then, of course, you've got the notion that those people, Hans and Herbert and Dirty Tesla, were chosen because they'll only show the good things. Herbert did a 4.5-hour live stream. How do you hide the bad things in a 4.5-hour live stream? I'm not sure, and neither are they. So they're a little quieter with it, but not much. Kim Java, you cut her, she bleeds Tesla red. She showed the phantom braking. Now, I would point out that when I come around a corner and the sun is directly in my eyes, I also brake until I can see, which is exactly what the car did. It's what I'd want it to do. I don't expect it to have all the superhuman powers. It already has superhuman powers, but I don't expect it to have more of them. So I am very pleased with it. And of course, as my buddy Joe here might say, probably nothing. It's probably nothing.
Yeah. I would agree exactly with everything that everything that was said. It's probably nothing is the way to look at this. But yeah, I think so. First off, thank you, Hans, for allowing me to just jump on board and fly in like super last minute. But at the end of the day, like for me, I think what we were actually talking with like Farzad, he actually had to do a whole drive where he was just like taking in the moment, right? And I felt like, I had one of those drives as well, where I just kind of sat in and just took in everything. And for me, that's what, in 2018, when I bought my first Model 3, I bought it because of the technology. I didn't buy it because of the movement for sustainability, to be quite frank. I bought it because of the 0 to 60. I bought it because it felt like a James Bond, car, like an Aston Martin, just, being able to like walk away and the windows close. Or sorry, the side mirrors like fold in, just, that's why I bought it. And it's because I saw what was launched this past weekend. I saw that this could be a Uber and Airbnb in one. That's why eventually, because I bought the car first, then I started the community, then I invested. And so for me, it was like, it was just one of those moments where, Tesla didn't launch this like with literally the Cybercab, because imagine the Cybercab, that's going to be kind of like when the Cybertruck initially launched, everyone would stop and look at it and probably try to like take videos as it's going. With the Model Y, they launched it in the most subtle way because it looks like every other car in Austin. They launched it with the white seats launch series. So if you just think about it from a marketing standpoint, once you realize no one was there, it had the white seats to pop. And they launched it, again, I may be repeating myself, but they launched it in a car that is already being produced today, the best-selling car in the world, and they don't need to build even the Cybercab to launch this new revenue stream for them. And then, yeah, going back to the fact that this is a new revenue stream, this is, again, the moment that we've all been waiting for, that you can turn on software and be able to launch these huge fleets. And Brian I'm not going to exhaust this, but Brian already went into all of the reasons why you would want someone else to drive you, because of intoxication, because of the fact that they don't get emotional. And also from a business economic standpoint, or from a a unit economic. Like, how can you continue to scale with paying a driver $30 to $40 an hour? But this is going to be like the cost per mile is going to be a fraction of what you will end up paying for a regular driver. And then when you think of the cost per mile, it's $2 to $4. It's going to be literally 25 cents at scale. But again, they're already making these profitable EVs. This is just going to be a revenue stream. If sales continue to slow down, as long as regulation allows, they can throw all of these cars in. And I think, again, shout out to Farzad. I think, Brian, you were the one, or someone quoted him saying that in 5 hours, they can literally make the whole Waymo fleet within 5 hours. And that's where I think stuff just starts to click, is that, again, who would rather be alone in the car? Everybody. Who knows that, ultimately autonomous driving is safer than humans? Like, that's just the thing, right? People will, if they're not there yet, they'll jump on board at some point. And then just the unit economics. Again, this is what we've all been just like waiting for. And so that's why for me, it was just a really cool moment this past weekend to be a part of that. And really kind of, I think, what is it? The kickoff, the inauguration of just this new chapter for Tesla. Because now you can actually say, this is happening. Sure, there's a person holding an open door button, but this is the initial launch. This is showing what it can do. And the other thing is like, for the people that have taken Waymos, my biggest differences that I saw was like just some small things, is that Waymo had 2 cameras inside, right? That's one thing that Tesla didn't have. The second thing is that the operating system for Tesla is going to be so far advanced, because Waymo is limited only to playing music. But with Tesla, you'll be able to play games, you'll be able to watch YouTube videos, Twitch, all of the capabilities in there. And then the other thing is, at least from what I saw, was that I think the Tesla Robotaxi experience was overall a lot smoother. I was actually driving back to my hotel, and it dropped me like 2 blocks before, and it didn't tell me why. But it was really cool. I think whether it was my drives with Hans or Dirty Tesla or Dr. Know-It-All, literally when I went to the hotel, when I went to an apartment built complex, when I went to In-N-Out, it would drop me off literally right in front. So again, this is to double click into what you said too, Brian. I live streamed 2 different times, one during the day, one at night, two 20-minute drives. And, you could technically see everything raw and nothing happened. One of the coolest things, and of course I was live streaming, but of course it's going to be the short clip, but Dirty Tesla, we were in the car, and a freaking paramedic was going by. So one of the biggest issues that everyone has with FSD is it doesn't know, when, what is it? Emergency vehicles are going by. Yeah, emergency vehicles. And then the second thing is school buses that show up the stop sign. But either way, we now have software that has been confirmed. Again, it's it's the Robotaxi version that can deal with that situation. And that has been one of the biggest complaints. So either way, it was just seeing all of that, like live streaming. So there's no doubt that this is happening. And again, yes, that person was holding their finger on the open door. But again, this is an initial beta launch, right? Like,
and even that I think is overblown, because I've seen plenty of drivers without their hand on that button too. Like, sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. This is not a universal thing that all of the safety monitors in all drives at all times are holding on to that thing. So yeah, it seems like people are grasping at straws to try and FUD.
If Tesla had invented a car that could be driven by one button in the passenger seat, that would be amazing news. I'd love to cover that. I love the shortest lived FUD of all time. Well, it only works during the daytime. 90 minutes later, you're streaming it in the dark. Okay, maybe not only in the daytime. I guess it can work in the night. But what a huge flex that they didn't use the cybercab. First of all, if they use the cybercab, you'd only get 1 passenger instead of 2, because you've got the the observer in the passenger seat. But if they'd have used the cybercab, the FUD would have been, oh, well, they have to build this custom prototype vehicle. We don't even know. Maybe it's got all kinds of extra compute in it that we can't see. No, this is a car that in a few short days will be able to roll off the line and go to work from the fact, just go, just, you know what you're doing, just go. And that is the sort of thing that Waymo can only dream of. The process from the time they say this car will be in service as a taxi until it becomes one is months and months, and a tremendous amount of money, and certainly validation after it's complete. When the build is done, they have to test it. All the cameras are calibrated while the car is on the line. It looks at the factory and says, yep, this is the world. I've stitched it together. Let's get to work. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people lose that fact that not only is this a vehicle that doesn't need any additional hardware mounted to it, but that this is software that for most of us that have already been on FSD, we already get it. You know what I mean? Like I drive to work every day without touching the steering wheel, without being, you know what I mean, having to really worry about too much. And I drove to LA last week, and you know what I mean? It's like no problem. But I think for people to like a picture of Hans like looking in the front seat, like I thought that was like hilarious. I think when people realize like there's nobody in the driver's seat, I think it just does something mentally for people. Like even Sawyer was like, man, it just feels so weird to be in the driver's seat after he done like hella rides. You know what I mean? Just like, I wonder, you guys feel that way too after you guys did so many rides? Like, does it just feel weird getting back in your car?
Yeah, so it actually is super crazy how fast we get used to things that we have experienced. Like, I sat in a car that could literally drive itself. I've never been in a Waymo before, so those Tesla Robotaxi rides were the first time I had ever ridden in a truly autonomous vehicle. And immediately afterwards, I had to walk like 3 blocks to get to my car on Sunday at one point. And I was thinking, damn, like I know that car can drive itself to me right now, but I have to walk because I don't have the software update yet. This is lame. What the heck? And then I had to drive FSD home for 4 hours that evening and, in the dark, and it was late. And I'm like, I'm going to have to supervise this car. Like, I don't actually have to supervise the car. Like, I'm one software update away from sleeping in the passenger seat while this car drives me home. Those are things that it's just crazy that we're right there.
So the other thing Dan O'Dowd said to me in the response to my post on X was that, wow, because I reposted a video of a Waymo that had crashed into a telephone pole a year ago. He said, oh, if you've got to dig a year back, Dan, you're digging hundreds of years back at this point. You're looking for dinosaurs. No, the reason I didn't cover that a year ago is because people like Dan made no big deal about it. It was on the local news. I couldn't find any reference to it making national news. When a car crashed into a telephone pole, that's a pretty big deal. If that had been Tesla, it would have been front page international news. But because it's Waymo, Dan and the I don't know what you call the plural of clown, but the whole circus didn't bother to bring any attention to it. Is it dangerous software? I had a guy respond to me saying, well, when was this video taken? And I said, since the current generation of hardware was put into use. So that's really all that matters. If LiDAR is a silver bullet, this ain't a vampire. Werewolf. Darn it, I goofed it.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that I would add as far as the capabilities of Tesla is that, today is June 27th, which means that tomorrow is June 28th, and we are scheduled to see the first Tesla drive itself off of the line and deliver itself directly to a customer. And that will presumably happen without a safety monitor in the driver's seat. And so that will be a fully human occupantless Tesla autonomous drive on public streets. That's also a different form of useful economic work that will be done by this AI driving agent. And so, that'll be, no one's going to report on, oh, these Tesla robotaxis, they have a safety monitor, so this is just a joke. Okay, yeah, well, we also know that the car can drive itself without a safety monitor too. And who's going to actually say that? Certainly not the people who are fudding.
And, one thing I wanted to bring up now.
And he's frozen.
And I'm stuck on the screen big.
Hey, I love that. So I'm going to leave it like this for a second. But what's going to be crazy is that, okay, so Sunday, or who knows if it gets delayed, but knowing how things are going now, we'll see. It should happen. We haven't heard that it won't. But imagine a future of, okay, let me buy 10 Robotaxis in Austin in the geofence, and then let me throw them into the fleet immediately. So it literally comes to my house. I check it, I okay it, and then I just throw it into the fleet automatically. I mean, that's going to be one of those things. I mean, I don't know if anyone's going to create that type of content, but again, this is all regulatory. But it's just going to be crazy. One day we have these vehicles coming to our houses and then going straight to making money.
But my question is, why would Tesla let you buy those 10 and put them into their fleet when they can make 10 times as much money keeping it for themselves?
Good question. But I think that's the idea, is that is that the private vehicles are going to be able to get access to the fleet. But yeah, I hear you.
Well, I think the practical reason why they'll let some private or third-party fleet or non-Tesla owned vehicles on the network is just because the variation in demand for robotaxis during the day, that you've got your on-peak times and your off-peak times. And so being able to maybe own the base load demand makes a lot of sense. And then maybe you do let other people handle flexing the density of cars on the network for those peak times. But that is a very valid question. Like, we don't know how Tesla's actually going to handle all of that yet. We've got to wait and see.
At least, again, maybe keep me honest here. I do remember that maybe he was talking more of the vision. I thought it was from a private ownership standpoint, but I remember him making several statements of saying, that you'll be able to make money while you're literally sleeping and while you're able to. So again, I don't know. I don't think he was talking about it from a Tesla perspective, but yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, even if we are able to, even if we don't get access to that, the fact that we can have our own personal like chauffeur, or even if I can hail it to my son who's at basketball practice and I want to bring him home from basketball practice and bring it, that's just going to be in itself a complete life hack. I do think, even if there's not, I would assume that someone's going to create a private Tesla robotaxi version of this, and somehow create access so that, it's like there's a private citizen fleet that's happening.
I could see that happening in like Leisure World, where it's just an inside the park kind of shuttle. Any place that has their own shuttle would be wise to consider these. I know casinos love to drive people from the city out to the casino in shuttle buses. We've got your player's card number. We know how valuable you are. We'll send you a taxi. Might not send you back home, but that's kind of a you problem.
Yeah, especially since those routes are usually the same loop over and over again. It'd be so easy to do that. That'd be awesome.
All right. Well, I think we unpacked that pretty well. So this again is all, we don't know the details. There's been, I think a lot of the media has been reporting on this, so we will see what happens. But so we don't know the reasons for the departure. There's some stuff allegedly that is being mentioned. But it looks like Omid, who was in charge of, I believe, sales and service for both North America and Europe, he's on his way out. And I think, so shout out to him if he's watching, for his service, because he has been through all things just to help build this company up. And I know he also is a big reason why Giga Austin is up and running. He was pretty much the lead guy out there, making sure things were moving forward. So a lot of effort there, but I think Milan was the last exec to leave, so he's another one. So again, don't know the full story, but just know that there's been more shakeups here happening.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody who knows the story of Omid, he's literally like Elon's right hand guy, like for everything, for a lot of stuff. So it's pretty wild. Like I don't even. I mean, of course, Elon has an assistant, but like Omid was just the dude. Like seriously, the dude. I don't think there's anybody really to fill those shoes. I mean, probably the position of what he did, but not what he encompassed.
One of the things that I would add is that, a lot of times when we do hit these big major milestones, that these are moments where it makes sense for someone like, I don't know exactly what's going on behind the scenes here, but I'll speak from an example that I do know. Once Farzad actually completed a bunch of the projects that he was responsible for, like that was a time when he felt comfortable leaving Tesla, because you know that if you're going to stick around, you're going to have to re-up for a big push, and you've got all these people around you who are absolute killers, who have put in a ton of work. They're probably still hungry, and you've got to decide, do I want to try and compete with the most intense people? Not just compete, but do I want to have to live at, my intensity level set to 150% again for a long stretch of time, when this is kind of one of those break points where it makes sense, because you don't want to leave in the middle of a huge project that you are specifically a critical part of. And so I just know that, we've seen that type of pattern play out for lots of different executives. I think that was somewhat true for Andre Karpathy. That was definitely true for JB. That once you hit these big milestones, it's like, okay, I had completed the things that I came here to do, that I was able to make a huge mark on, and it's time maybe for me to step back and spend time with my family, reset, relax for a little while, and then eventually they start new companies like JB and do incredible, amazing things again too, and have a little bit more autonomy and control over what their life looks like in the process. So yeah, I definitely want to give huge props to Omid. He has been a very, very influential, pivotal, value add member of the team at a very high level for a very long time. And I can't imagine the toll that's taken to fly that close to the sun. And he has well earned a little bit of
the sun. Yeah, no, I mean, I think one of the most iconic memories that I have of Omid is the photo that he took of Elon when he was sitting on the ground in the factory in 2018 production hell. And but yeah, this is Omid was literally Elon's right hand. He was there through through the good, the bad, the ugly, the great moments, and really kind of, I think, Elon's kind of executor to execute some of his plans and thoughts and stuff. So again, yeah, I would agree with that. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes? This could also be a personal moment. And I think the truth is too, 10 years, 15 years at Tesla is, you can double that pretty much in any other job. And so a lot of the employees that do, a lot of the people that do end up working there end up giving, their all to this company at the sacrifice of potentially other things, which, don't matter to mention, but it comes at a sacrifice, and a huge sacrifice. And so I know that he played a huge role and thankful for his work. I am thankful though that Elon is back at the helm. I mean, if he had left when a lot of this stuff was going on, maybe like 5-6 months ago, who knows, we might be in a different place. But now that Elon's kind of back at full hands on board, wartime Elon, I'm and also too, just given what they're executing this past week, it's just a big moment for the company, so I think that the company's in good hands going forward. But for sure, you can't replace a guy like that, especially that history, especially that type of history that you have with Elon. That's just, there's a lot of trust that's been built up over the years.
Well, and also we can't discount the possibility that he's just moving to another part of the Musk empire to do another critical job that Elon has somewhere. So, that's also something that we could see.
I thought he was just stepping back to have twins with Elon, but I guess I'm late to the news.
Plausible.
All right, who wants a car? Then make a video. The more I look at this shrink wrap semi spotted outside the Tesla semi pilot production building, the more certain that I am that this is the refresh version. So as we know, Tesla continues to reiterate, and they haven't finalized the production model yet, partially because they're also building the factory that will mass produce these. So I would assume several iterations, but also, there's tons of early prototypes, and this looks, it feels like a lot different, but again, not sure. It's all speculation. So shout out to Zangler for catching this from the sky.
So I may have driven within 6 feet of that yesterday, and it is very different. If you look, either it's missing a bumper or the whole front clip is different. It's hard to tell under wraps, but you're right. The shape definitely looks different. That factory is ginormous. I went out with Zangler when he did his drone footage yesterday. Got to ask him all kinds of questions, ones he's allowed to answer and ones he'll tell me, but I can't record, and get some great insights of what's actually going on. And there is a lot brewing in Nevada. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that for sure.
Yeah, Zane is awesome. I still need that jacket.
Still, what are you talking about? You have the cool jackets, man.
Facts.
But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think as far as like, what do you, I kind of circling back to the beginning, what do you think the rollout is going to look like over the next couple of weeks, especially as they've been, now the second, third waves are going out? What do you guys think as far as the like Robotaxi? How will that scale? And what does that look like over the upcoming weeks? So
I'll go up first because I have pure speculation. It's based on nothing. I think they will increase the geofence and just increase the number of vehicles to match it. Mission Control there knows what they can handle, and I think they will immediately scale to match the capacity of the network. I do see people saying, well, it couldn't drive in the horrible torrential downpour, right? I bet if you go to the DOT's website, you would find that there were a lot of accidents that happened during that time. None of them were Waymo or Tesla. So maybe don't drive in that condition. But so I think it's going to expand, possibly all the way out to Giga Texas, so that the deliveries can happen.
I'll go next because my speculation is purely selfish. I think we need Summon on the Cybertruck, and I think we could also use some more headway in that area. No, I think the rollout is just as they mapped it out. It's looking like what Brian's saying. Like, why not expand the area? You got to add the airport. We've already heard them talk about how the airport is included in a lot of that stuff, and a lot of the more popular places. Like, I know you guys went to the barbecue spot, and I know that's like one of the places that I frequent. So I know that expansion is definitely going to happen. and then you're looking at like the next iteration. Like I talked to a few of the employees, and they were like, dude, it's been like, I'm like, hey, how come this isn't happening? And they're like, have you seen the Robotaxi event? It's like all hands on deck, bro. Everybody's making stuff for that. Like nobody's doing software for anything else right now. So I think that once this gets kind of rolling, then and they're able to get comfortable. I mean, like that's one thing that Tesla does well is they laser focus on certain things, and then like once they get that moving, then they move on to the next thing. They're not like a lot of these companies that are like, hey, I'm doing this and this and this and that, and you know what I mean? Like, yeah, they have a lot of things brewing on the back end, but like for outward projections, like it's just straight focus on what they're doing right now. So I think they'll do like Brian said, they'll expand it and roll out more vehicles, add to it, and then we'll see what happens from there. And once they get that comfortable, then we're going to look at our next update for our vehicles, and I think that's going to be next. Awesome.
I think the issue with the airport is that you need a dedicated stand for these, just like how Uber and Lyft has the rideshare stand, and there's a taxi stand. And with just 10, 20, even 30 in the fleet, I don't think it makes sense yet to have that discussion with the airport to know how much space to even request.
Well, and the other challenge is that currently the Robotaxi doesn't operate on highways. And so I think we have both geographical expansion that eventually will happen, and then we have actually including those highways. And in fact, because you aren't allowed to go on the highways, there are a lot of things that are technically inside of the perimeter of the geofence that you can get to without going on the highways, just because they're close to the highways and the car might take the highway to get there instead of a way that doesn't go on the highway. Then you can't actually, navigate to or from those specific locations. So yeah, I would say my expectation, and joining like pure speculation land, we don't know yet how Tesla's going to handle all of this, is that Tesla's going to continue to be extremely, extremely safety conscious and cautious in rolling this out, that we are going to see probably continuous expansion. And there's, the different ways that they can expand. They can add more cars. They can expand the geographical coverage area. They can also add highways. I don't think highways are going to be something that comes super quickly. My guess is that we expand the geofence first before we add highways, and we're going to probably expand cars before we expand the geofence. Because the thing that Tesla needs is they need data that shows, hey, we are operating safely, and we've got enough confidence that after, my guess is they're probably evaluating things in buckets. Like, what does it look like with 1,000 miles? Okay, we've got 1,000 miles. What does it look like with 10,000 miles? Okay, 10,000 miles. What does it look like at 100,000 miles? And so I think these are probably, there's got to be some metric that they're looking at on roughly an order of magnitude basis. And miles may very well be what it is. To like, those are going to be the points at which they say, okay, everything has gone according to plan here. Now let's make that next expansion move in whatever direction that they choose.
Yeah, I do know, like, and even in Austin, for the people that are out there scouting, I think I've heard that multiple people have seen the kind of like the LiDAR looking Model Ys out on the highway. And I don't want to undersell it, but I feel like the highway is actually going to be the easier than anything. That autopilot and FSD on the highway has always been better than on the streets, in at least initially. But based on what I saw, I'm like, if it can handle what we've seen it handle on the streets, which is a lot more complex, the highways shouldn't be that hard to expand to. What will be interesting, in my opinion, is exactly what Hans was saying, is that, probably more from the regulation standpoint. At what point is Austin going to be like, okay, you have so many drives, let's expand it from, this location to the next? Or is Tesla in the driver's seat and they kind of control the destiny a little bit more on this. That's where I'm not too sure. But you know, I think people were complaining about the fact that, oh, this is only like half the geofence that Waymo has. They literally are just launching a beta version. I mean, and it's I think Hans, you and I even did like 2 drives where it was like one side of the geofence to the other side. So which was like 20 minutes long and then 10 minutes like wide, or what the height was about 10 feet. 10 minutes to just go from 20 minutes from one side to the other, and then from top to bottom it was 10 minutes. So it was pretty big, and you got everything in there, from in and out to hotels and apartments, Terry Black's barbecue, and just like every scenario you can kind of think of outside of maybe like downtown Austin 6th Street, which can get pretty busy, especially during Friday and Saturday nights. But it's a good geofence area to test this stuff out. Oh, Hans, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I was just agreeing. That's true. I mean, there are different types of, you know, expanding into downtown Austin is more traffic, more scenarios, a lot more one-way streets as well. So, you know, that's one class of risks that they're going to have to decide when we're ready to tackle that. Highways are, yeah, I think, you know, technically easier, and the quality of FSD on highways has always been really good. But the challenge there is that when there are mistakes that are made, that the likelihood, you know, most traffic accidents happen on surface and city streets, but most fatalities happen on highways. And even if the Tesla was not at fault in a fatal highway accident, that would be something that would cause major headlines. And so, you know, I don't know when they're going to feel like they're ready to cross that bridge. So those are the different types of decisions that they have to make. You know, when are we ready to do which types of different things? And then there is the thing where, okay, maybe, you know, maybe you feel like South Austin is so chill and so easy that you're ready to take safety monitors out of the passenger seat for that South Austin region while you focus all your safety monitors on downtown or something. Like, there's so many different ways that Tesla can proceed. But the thing that's going to be first and foremost in their mind as they're making this decision on how to expand the service, it's always going to be with, what do we think is going to be the safest way that we can do this?
Exactly. Yeah, Tesla's always going to take the very high road of safety first.
Yeah. That's why it was kind of, well, amusing, not really funny, but it was kind of amusing to watch, like, the media look for the errors instead of just praising the success of what was happening on day one. Like all they could do is try and point out, like, oh, where's the potential problems. I like the fact that nobody was talking to the media. That was just hilarious to me.
Can we just ask you a few quick questions? No. No. And everybody was consistent on it. Look, guys, we gave you the benefit of the doubt for 10 years. How'd that work out? No, it's a no.
And did you see the hit piece that Reuters put out anyways, talking to everybody who had never been in
I didn't click on it. I just saw started auto playing when I scrolled by, and I just noped out. How bad was it?
It was pretty bad. It was like, see, you see, Reuters, this is why. Like it was interview after interview of like, oh, well, I don't know how I can trust a robot to drive me around. And it was just like 80% of that. And then, 20% of people being like, well, I mean, yeah, but how safe is it? You know what I mean? I mean, the future's going to happen eventually, but how safe is it?
Yeah.
That is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. That is the definition of it. Reuters, I appreciate you making clear to us that the decision made by all the writers was the correct one.
Insanity.
Thank you. And also too, like, and I would assume, like, even if someone did let them in, obviously they would probably have lost their access immediately. But like the whole drive, they're waiting for that moment for the phantom braking to hit while it's recording. That would have been the whole story. And then they would have gone, hey, let me show you the footage. What do you think about this? Oh, yeah, well, I guess I'm never getting in. And yeah, I mean, the truth is that like even Waymo, clearly, you know, there's videos that of the car making wrong decisions. There's going to be mistakes to be had. It's just about, you know, as those mistakes happen, is just you know, dealing it with safety and caution. That's going to happen, because I think there was a situation, I think it was Dave Lee's video, where there was a UPS truck backing up and they pulled over immediately and then waited. So I think that's going to be, a lot of that's going to happen. I saw it handle 2 paramedic situations, which was really cool just to see how does it react? What does it start doing? But again, it's, you know, the rollout, we all know, it's going to be, I think a lot of it's going to be dependent on regulation. I'm major, you know, FOMO here is still in the Silicon Valley, even though I was able to see it. Just wanting it to come and launch here is like, and I hope, I personally don't care if they do it in San Francisco. I think they should actually do it in Palo Alto first. Like San Francisco, in my opinion, it's like, it's a cool place, but like, you know, also too, like the last thing we need is people jumping on these cars that are just have literally don't even have their minds straight, and just destroying it. It's like, who wants that? And I don't think they need, San Francisco's a beast to navigate through. Don't get me wrong. It's still pretty cool that Waymo is doing it, but just given some of the political stuff, it's like, what's the, you know,
yeah, it's unfortunate. They only had 1,500 cars, and now they lost like almost 40 of them. But also, did you see the Bradford Ferguson video where it's raining and so he can't catch the Robotaxi, and he gets into Waymo, and then it's like, we're also not going in this rain. So it also pulls over and stops. It's like, no matter how many LiDARs you got, you just...
Yeah, I mean, Brian was 100% right earlier. I mean, there was an accident, I think, in the coverage area during the time that it was raining, that specific rainstorm. You know, Texas drivers are literally awful in the rain. Anytime there is a nasty rainstorm, someone crashes on the interstate and someone crashes in town. It's just like, people have no idea what the heck they are doing, in the words of someone famous recently, because they just, yeah, they're awful. And so that's one of the risks that Waymo and Tesla are taking, is that you can potentially drive just fine in that weather. That doesn't mean you're not going to be in an accident, because other people, you know, are retards. And I don't know if you guys have realized this recently, but human pilot is quite flawed.
Full meat driving is terrible.
You know what I just realized is that, is the Jaguar I-Pace being made anymore? No. So when someone goes and destroys these vehicles, they are literally removing a car from the fleet that can no longer go back on the road, because I doubt Jaguar is going to be like, hey, can we get more parts? Or, you know, Waymo's going to be like, hey, can we get more parts? It's like, yo, we don't make these anymore. We can't support any. It's possible. But again, when people destroy them, they destroy them. They're like beating the crap out of these things.
Yeah. Well, Waymo's contract is with a new vehicle anyway. They're not going to be doing those.
Is there any ETA on when they'll launch that? I guess what I'm trying to say is, what do they have? 15,000 on the road. They've lost 40 in San Francisco. They're not going to be able to put those back on the road for another year or two until they launch with the
1,500.
100, yeah.
Yeah, 1,500.
Yeah, so it looks like the next one's going to be a Hyundai, and then after that a Zeekr. But no, we haven't seen any of them yet, so I assume it's still in development. So good luck. Good luck.
Well, they got to add all the candy on it.
They have to add they have to bedazzle it, yeah, and then test that the bedazzles don't come loose.
You mean put the nice hats on?
Yeah.
Our cars don't need a hat. Oh, you're sassy. You're sassy, Cybercab.
You know what's crazy? People don't understand this, but when you see a Waymo in person, it is vastly different than in the photos, man. All the things spinning on it and sticking out from it. It's wild in person.
And my question is, has there been pedestrian crash safety tests on those vehicles after all the modifications are made? There's no way that car is not going to chew up a pedestrian in ways that it was never designed or tested for, having all those big protrusions instead of a pedestrian just kind of getting a glancing blow and rolling off the side. Now your backpack gets stuck on a sensor. I think it's a safety issue, and the people who pretend to really care about safety don't seem to care about it, which of course would make you question their motivation if you didn't already know their motivation.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, Tesla continues to roll out FSD in Berlin now, and I believe that I saw something that they have regulatory approval now. But again, we'll see what that all means. But hopefully, our friends across the pond out in Europe are going to be getting some love here because, as you may know, like Autopilot, like all of the other OEMs have caught up to Tesla. There's really no differentiator. But again, once this happens, even if this is geofenced to specific areas and stuff, because again, there's an insane amount of regulation in Europe, this is just going to be really, again, continues to make and differentiate Tesla from the rest.
Facts.
All right. So a couple of quick announcements. Shout out to EV Air Care. They're actually a local brand, but they're a DIY brand that allows you to do air filters yourself. So make sure you go ahead and check them out. They're listed on our website as well. But we are literally, what is it? A week away, or sorry, 30 days away, 28 days, whatever the number is. We're a month away from the X takeover. And this, if any of you, I know I was out there with Brian, if you went to Muskegon, Michigan, they put on a spectacle with Optimus, the Cybertruck, the Cybercab, a bunch of other different symbols with 400 drones. And this event is going to have 800 drones, along with hundreds of Teslas doing a light show. So make sure you go to X Takeover for the July 25th light show. You have to sign up for that. So if you have a Tesla, please go and sign up for that. And then if the actual event is July 26th. So all of us are going to be on stage at various points, speaking about various topics or helping with the event. So please just make sure you go to xtakeover.com. We would love to see you there. And I will say that tickets are really starting to ramp. So it's getting, it's getting exciting. So what is it?
I do want to say on the tickets, in past years, tickets have sold out. So don't just think, oh, I'll get it later. If you're coming, you gotta make a plan.
Yeah, and of course, I can't share with you everything that's going to happen. All I can say is this is going to be, from what I'm seeing behind the scenes, this is going to probably be the best year ever. So it's crazy. This is the 5th year of the event. We've taken it globally to Asia and Europe, but this one has always been kind of the eye candy of all of them and really all of the Tesla events. But this year we are putting out and giving you guys all of it that we can. We're putting our heart and soul in this one. So, make sure you come. xtakeover.com. That's all I can say. Can't share more than that. We will see you guys all next week on the Tesla Beat 105 episode. And thank you again for supporting the channel. And please make sure to support all of these wonderful hosts who give their time. All of them are tagged on X or on YouTube. Make sure you also utilize their referral codes as you're potentially considering a purchase of another Tesla vehicle. We'll see you guys all next week.
Peace.